But speaking of the party, I mentioned, both on social media and on the show, I had a special surprise guest coming up to start hour number 2. He is the gangster from the mean streets of West Lynn, Oregon. He is the godfather of integrity. Most of all, he is your reigning co-champ of the Smack Off, seated 1 foot from me, to my right, in the Skype Live studio, Chael Sonnen.
Hey!
The reigning king of smack is here. Chael, what's up? How you doing?
Man, that's not an easy title to get. I will tell you, that's a year's worth of work to go into it. And for the listeners that don't know, you don't make it any easier on us because getting the date of the Smack Off is like pulling teeth. I text Kyle all the time. He's like, oh, it's coming, it's coming. Well, it's very hard to prepare something that's coming.
Hey, Chael, you're the kind of guy that would take a fight on 1 day's notice. What are you talking about, man?
Yeah, I'll tell you, but it's
the Smack Off harder than MMA?
It only comes once a year. I'll put it that way.
No, I know that. And I know you want to be prepared and you want to be competitive. So what about that crown? How does the crown feel? What's it like to wear that crown? And when you're out and about, do people know that you won the title?
Yeah, they know all the time. I told you this when I won it the first time, but I got more street cred for winning that. I had a fight coming up for a world championship with a guy named Anderson Silva, and my buddy Reese calls me. He's like, this is the biggest thing you've ever done, blah, 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 the first time I won it. And winning it a second time was nearly impossible. And to defend it, Mike and I have literally been planning it week after week.
All right, so Chael, what was better? Winning it for the first time where you literally came out of nowhere and just ripped that thing, and the second time, we all know this, winning it is one thing, but keeping it is another. What was more gratifying, to win the first one or to double back?
No, to double back was. And defending it is almost impossible. Guys have done it. I believe Vic did it back-to-back years, but it's almost impossible to do when everybody's coming at you. This may sound silly to people that compete, but this is the ultimate competition because politics come in it. You have to figure out where you want to go in order. If you go first, you don't have to respond to the callers, but if you go last, you better be ready to respond. And we're all going by a script. And if you don't respond, it's obvious that you're going off a script, and the viewer gets pissed if they can prove you're going. We're all going by a script, and they know it, but if you get caught going by a script, you're out.
Dude, that's not politics. That's tactics. That's strategic. You're right. If somebody takes a 2x4 to your head or a shovel and you don't respond and you go right to the script, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
It's a bad look, and it's going to hurt you. All right, so you talked about Mike. For instance, can you let us in? How did that come to be? We never actually talked about this. How did you and Mike come together on that call?
All right, so I got a hold of Mike. He was in for sure. Mike's always in, right? He's mad.
You called him first. You reached out to him.
I called him. I think I sent him what the kids call a direct message on Twitter, and he wrote me back, and he goes, man, I don't think this is you, because we never spoke before, and he's like, I need some kind of proof, and he provided me with a number, so I FaceTimed him, and I happened to be in bed in a hotel in Las Vegas, so I call him.
You're FaceTiming another clone from
without
bed?
My shirt on, right? Because I'm in bed. I never think that it's inappropriate. So he's like, all right, I know it's you. Now hang up. I've seen enough. But then we just started putting it together. And I really do owe it to him because I didn't have a slotted call. I had turned your request down. I didn't respond back to Kyle. So it was really Mike's call. I was ready for Mike to double-cross me. At any minute, I was waiting, ready for him to not let me on the conference call.
You did not even trust the guy that you were trying to align yourself with.
I had a script in place just in case he did double-cross me. It was an absolute last-minute deal. But he could have been a better partner. But as the story went, I really didn't know how it was going to go until we went live.
You thought that guy could double-cross you live during the call?
Because it was his call. He had the power. If he didn't want to patch me through, I'm out.
Dude, this is not the WWE, man. It's the Smack Off.
I know.
That is incredible.
I know. So, you can roll your eyes all you want. This is ultra competitive, though.
No, it is. It is. And you got to be quick and you got to be on your feet. What I'm curious about, why did you want to partner up with somebody else? I mean, you were the champ. You've been in a sport where you don't have a team. You always rely on yourself and nothing else, nobody else. Why did you want to partner up with somebody?
Because it comes back to the surprise factor. It's very difficult to win. It's very difficult to have something new and something cutting edge. And I thought, if we team up, on one hand, you and Kyle might make us have to have permission to team up. On the other hand, if we just come in and kick the door in this thing, we might not give Jim time to think and go, hey, wait a minute, this isn't the rule. So there was a lot of strategy here, and we thought, if we come in, we're one of the last calls, and we just hit him with it. If he likes it, we're going to win. If he doesn't, we're out.
Chael, for somebody who's late to the party, you've got a really good grasp of this, because what that was one of those moments, one of those like holy bleep moments on the program. And I think you knew that. You knew that going in. You were trying to create one of those moments. One more thought about it. What about the content of the call? How did you guys come up with the content and the idea for the call? Was that you? Was that him?
It was largely Mike. He started with the entire concept, and then we went back and forth, and we definitely had a collaborative effort there. But, I don't say this to, like, be sportsman-like. I'd love to yank the carpet out from under him, but the truth is he was the brains behind the operation. That's just the way it happened.
All right, so are you guys preparing to defend on June 26th? Now you have the date. You can't tell me I didn't give you enough time. It's June 26th. Are you working it?
100%. We are going to defend. We're trying to figure out our order. That's the only thing. Again, for listeners that don't know, that's the only thing you get as defending champion. You get a pick when you come in. So we're trying to strategically plan. But see, Mike doesn't get scared. I get scared of these guys because some of these guys are creative and they're clever. Mike wants to take them all head on. So we're probably going to go last. We'll probably take the hardest spot.
You have fought the baddest dudes in the entire world, but you're scared of other clones?
I don't want to get shown up. I'm telling you, when you don't win this thing, you got to wait a year to even try to win it again. I'm not trying to make it bigger than something it is, but it's a big deal.
It's that big. It's that big.
It's a big deal.
That big, and you understand that, and you're right. You know what it's like to have a bullseye on your back, so very well done, Chael. You are a two-time champion, the two-time defending champion. We'll look forward to the 26th. Let me talk to you about some MMA now, and thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. What was your reaction when you heard that Jon Jones had turned himself into Albuquerque police after that hit-and-run incident late last month?
Well, as far as turning himself in, he did the right thing. The problem was unfrying that egg once it's already cooked. The hit-and-run was a terrible thing. He's got a defense that he'll be putting forward. It's really hard to defend. I don't know why he did it or what happened. I don't think he's going to make believe that it wasn't him or anything like that. But it's a tough spot. I'll tell you, as far as stripping him, that was kind of unheard of. You only strip a guy's title in fighting if he doesn't fight or if he's unable to fight. To take a guy's belt when he's still sitting in the organization, it's a little bit of an odd thing. But
do you disagree with that? Was that not the right play?
It's never been done. If you were to ask me, is this what's going to happen, I would say no. They're either going to cut him completely and he will no longer be in the organization, in which case a dropping of the title is just a byproduct. I didn't think they would strip a guy but keep him on the roster. I don't know that it was a wrong decision, but it's never been done.
All right, so what do you think the UFC does with him when he does come back?
See, that's where it gets interesting, because if you run him back out for a title shot, then it's like none of this happened. What's the difference? You walk out there, you leave as champion, you just don't get, when your walkout music plays, you don't get to be champion.
You're not wearing the belt, right?
Right, so then what do you do? Let's say, now you forbid him from a title shot? Well, what do you do with him? You don't put him in a main event? Does he not get to become the number one contender? Who's he going to fight? That's the problem. From a PR standpoint, what is the next thing you do with him? That's why if you cut him completely, the answer is pretty simple. He goes into rehab, he cleans things up, he comes back, and he gets to resume his spot. That's where I don't understand. What is Jon Jones right now? Is he not the number one contender? And Jim, the answer is no. Right now, they've taken him out of the rankings. The baddest dude to ever walk the planet isn't even the top 10 ranking. I think it's weird.
Chael, what do you think? I mean, you said yourself, I don't know why he did that, but if you had to guess, I mean, what's going on here? This is not his first incident outside the cage. Is it the pressure of being the champion? Is that getting to him? Is he one of those guys who thinks he's bulletproof or above the law? What do you think this guy's dealing with?
You can start to back his problems up, and they come down to one thing. He just shouldn't drive. It's as simple as that. If he's out having a good time, we can discuss that on moral and ethical and legal, all you want. But the bottom line is, if he just called Uber, if he called a taxi, if he called a buddy, and he wasn't behind the wheel, all of these problems, because he's had other ones too, they all go away. Now you can start to back things up and say, look, he needs to clean things up and needs to go bed a little bit earlier. Yeah, we can have those discussions, but if he wouldn't get behind the wheel, boy, it would have solved a lot of his problems.
Well, no matter what, get yourself a driver, get yourself a car. The other issue is that you probably don't want to be testing positive for blow before fights either.
Yeah, that wasn't great. Cocaine's a very tough one to defend, and the reality is that's kind of the.
It's not tough to defend, Chael. It's impossible to defend. It's cocaine.
I will agree with that.
It's the Bolivian marching powder.
But to your point, though, it is the king of the mountain. You're going to be. It's an incredible leap of faith to believe somebody is going to climb the mountain without stopping. Compared to baseball, you can't get home without going to bases first, 1, 2, and 3 first. So, yeah, there was some problems there, but Blow was the only one he was found in his system, and I'm saying a lot of things right now. Can you get me out? Can you
got
back me
right?
out of this?
This is why I'm really good at this, because the guys get comfortable and they just go. And you
saying
especially,
a lot
Chael.
of things right now.
Let me just say this, though. I mean, that's why you're a great guest, Chael. That's why you won the Smack Off twice. That's why
Getting
you
ready
were
to win it a third time. When? June 26th?
June 26th. June 26th.
Right.
Be there. Hey, by the way, the fact that you say a lot of things helped your career quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true.
You could fight. You were tough. You would take on anybody, anywhere, at any time. But a lot of this was, let's face it. I mean, you created this thing.
For sure.
Thing. Was that the plan?
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought it was a lot of fun, too. It wasn't just a big marketing ploy. A lot of it was just about being an entertainer. The one thing about the UFC that is missed on people is this is a television show. We are on TV, whether it's on pay-per-view or you're over on FS1 or what it might be. We are in the entertainment business, and it's also a lot of fun. If you show up somewhere, you need to be ready for something to say. I would never go into a test in school without studying the night before, and I see a lot of people go before a camera, they put a microphone on their face, and they're not ready to say anything. It's like, well, why'd you agree to the interview if you weren't going to come out here to say something? And there's nothing wrong with being entertaining, whether you want to take a gimmicked approach, which I had to do at times just because I was tasked with so many interviews. Eventually, it did just become straight up shtick. But the other times, man, it was sincere. There was a reason to want to fight a guy, and people can relate to that. How many people are listening to this show right now have some guy in the office that they'd really like to fight? In my industry, which was one of the few, we actually can, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with saying it.
Isn't that great to know exactly if there's a guy that you hate in the office that you can go over there and punch him in the face and get paid for it?
There is actually a way you can do it.
That's a great gig you have. Yeah,
it can be at those times, but you don't need to apologize for that. And a lot of people would say, well, it's unsportsmanlike. I go, well, time out. There's a room for sports, but this isn't Little League anymore.
So, where's the line? Can you cross the line? Where's the line?
Well, this is what I always follow. Some people walk around with their WWJD bracelets. I ask myself a different question. What would Stone Cold Steve Austin do? And if Stone Cold would do it, it was okay with me.
Chael Sonnen joining us on the program. You just said something. You just said, it got to the point where it was just shtick. When did it get to that point? And did you ever get tired of being that guy? Chael, I hate to let them inside the curtain, behind the curtain, but you and I have this thing. We understand that we're doing shows. You had a show to do. I've got a show to do. And this is real, by the way. You say things that you mean and mean what you say, and I do the same thing. But I hate to break or burst the bubble. You and I are not the two worst guys ever, like we'd be perceived to be. In fact, I hate to really blow this thing open. Chael, you're actually a pretty damn good guy. You're a really good guy.
Well, that's nice of you.
I mean that sincerely. So what I'm saying is that
you're a good judge of character. That's right? What you are. You have very good taste.
Thank you. And you are a great showman. However, was any of that you, or was it all shtick? Did you create a character?
I understand your question completely, and it's definitely started out as what we call a shoot, meaning it's not you got to work and you got to shoot. It was a shoot. It was real. It was all very sincere. I eventually got tasked with so much media, and I became the front man for a company, and things were expected of me, and pretty soon it became shtick. I'd break out a poem.
Did it get weary?
It didn't get weary, but I didn't personally like it as much. When I see other athletes do it, and it's real and it's sincere and it's from the heart, that's where I really liked it the most. That's really what Stone Cold Steve Austin, to go back for the wrestling reference. The Rock was also a fantastic entertainer, but his was a little bit more shtick. Now, it was fun. There was a place for it, and it did good ratings. But I personally, as a fan, I like it when it's really sincere. I just got to a place where I had so doggone much media, I couldn't keep up.
What about Conor McGregor? When you look at him, is it a shtick? Is it sincere? What do you think when you see him?
Okay, a lot of it is a shtick, but he's to the point that he hasn't revealed the curtain yet. You'll have what we call the smart marks, the people in the business, the guys like you and I that know when we're having somebody portraying a character, and he's still got us a little bit duped. He's doing a very good job of it. He hasn't let the veil down yet. No, that isn't totally who he is, but he's a pissed-off guy. He wants the championship. He's not afraid to kick a few doors in to get it, and he's going to get his shot real soon against Jose Aldo.
Oh, so how do you think that goes?
I think he's in way over his head. I think that
way over his head.
I think he's in way over his head. I think that Conor McGregor's got a place in the sport. I think he's a very talented fighter. I think when you start putting him against the big three, Jose Aldo, Chad Mendez, Frank Yeager, I think the wheels fall off the bus pretty fast. I don't believe he's a top 4, top 5, maybe not even a top 10 fighter. I'm wrong all the time. If you wanted to make a lot of money, ask
have
me
you ever
who's
been
going
right?
to win and go the
Have
opposite.
you ever been right?
I get them wrong all the time. ESPN teases me about that. Like, hey, we bring you on to predict the future and tell us who's going to win a fight. You break these things down wrong all the time. I really don't know. And in this sport, anything can happen. Home runs can get hit with one swing of a fist. So I think he's in way over his head. I don't think it's an ultra competitive fight, but it's going to be a big one.
Just tell them you didn't call them; they called you, and don't rubberize the check, man.
I like that. Don't rubberize it. I will tell him that. I'll send him a text.
You do it. Listen, you recently took part in Metamorphosis 6. It's a very mysterious jiu-jitsu event that was held behind closed doors without any media. What exactly was that, and how did that go?
Okay, so it went great. It was a ton of fun. It's a 20-minute grappling-only event, and the only way you can win is by submission. Okay, it's a big game of mercy. If the other guy doesn't say uncle, it goes to a draw. So most matches go to a draw. Now, when you talk about the closed-door event, this kind of confused everybody. They blocked the audience out. So now, from a business standpoint, you have no gate. You have nobody live there. And then they managed to piss off the media all in the same day by saying, you guys are also not welcome. At the same time,
How did it even happen then?
Here they are on the Jim Rome show. Okay, the UFC went years without being able to get on Jim Rome. We finally got a guy named Brock Lesnar. You gave him 2 minutes and 34 seconds, and this was the single biggest piece of media campaign that we have. I know you gave him 2 minutes and 34 seconds, but because before I came on your show, they said, look, our biggest star ever has got 2 minutes and 34 seconds on Jim Rome. I came to you, told you the Lance Armstrong was some Mexican guy, got 4 minutes and 54 seconds, and Dana White couldn't have been more thrilled. So the point is, on Metamoris, yes, they went a very weird approach business-wise. I don't know if it'll work, but, Jim, here we are talking about it.
Exactly. We've come full circle, but it's still not as weird as you denying that you said that in that interview. That was so great.
I can't believe people backing me on that. How does anyone back me on that?
Because they don't like me.
Yeah, I think that was right.
That was absolutely incredible because I remember saying, I don't know if we could pull the sound to remind people of that great moment. But I remember saying, I don't know, Chael, it sounds exactly like you. You're like, no, it's not me.
No,
really? It sounds
like
exactly like you.
I don't think so.
Because it is you, Chael.
Right. Or there's that. Or it is me. Yes.
Right, listen, for those who don't remember it, Chael, let me play. This is how we all came together. This is one of the great moments in the history of the jungle. This is what Chael Sonnen's talking about. Listen to this.
Chael, I could be wrong. That sounds a lot like you.
Or don't.
Jim, that doesn't sound anything like me. Have the callers call in. There's no way anybody will think that sounds like me.
Chael, honestly, because, respectfully, it sounds exactly like you.
Sounds like a guy with a Hispanic accent to me. Maybe I had a bad connection, but I thought you were kidding around with that voiceover. That's certainly not me.
All right, so you're telling me that's not you, Chael.
Just kill
it. I can't say it to you any clearer.
Abort. Move on. All right, so kill it. Abort, move on. So there you go. It was great, and it was a great moment, and it helped put you on the map. Chael, you just kind of understand the whole thing. Content's king. Speaking of which, you have a podcast now, don't you?
I got a podcast. Thanks for mentioning that.
You were a guy, let me jump in. You were a guy who's always been a great interview. What's it like being on the other side?
It couldn't be more fun. You know what? And I am a fan of guys, and those are the guys that I have on the show.
Like who?
Well, I was a big pro wrestling fan growing up. I had a guy named Jim Cornette on. I've had Chris Jericho, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then I have all of the MMA guys as well. Dana White is coming on a show coming up. So you have a bunch of guys that you have an interest in anyway. It makes it really easy. And as you know, you can call it a job if you want, but this isn't work, man. We're just sitting down. We're having fun. We're having a conversation. And the more of a conversation you can make it and the less of an interview is the better it is for the viewer. But that's a skill,
where'd you learn that, Chael? That's
yet.
Brilliant. I've said that from day one. The best interviews are not interviews at all. They're conversations.
They're conversations, and I can just tell you as a fan, your show is a master of it. But if I just sit here and give you dead air, you've got to have questions ready for me. And I've had some guests do that where I've even thought, man, why did you agree to come on the show, man? I don't want to sit here and pull teeth.
Welcome
Let's
to my
talk
life, bro.
A little bit.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
welcome
come
to my
up
life.
with something to offer.
You know what? I always say this. Why did you say yes? No is fine. No is fine. If everybody wants to do my talk show, I'm not doing my job anyway. No is fine. I don't take that personally. I don't care. If you don't want to do it, don't say yes.
Yeah, have a question the day before. By the way, you owe me a story. I saw you in studio a couple of weeks ago. Right after the break, you said, I have a story on one of my racehorses, and you never told the story. Is that something we can do on air? Something that just happened at the track. I want to say a horse was hurt.
Yeah, we had a horse that got hurt. I don't know why.
And I'm sorry if you had to put your horse down.
No, we did not.
Okay.
We did not. He suffered a non-displaced fracture at the point of his hip. He was in West Virginia. This horse, by the way, and not to be this guy, but the one thing, I don't root for anybody or any athlete. Look, I've got guys like you that I have a good relationship with, but in my business, it's interesting. I've come up, and I've had guys that I've had a good relationship with that did something really stupid, and I had to point it out, and then I did not have a good relationship with them.
Sure.
So I don't root. I don't root for guys. I don't root for teams. I don't root for athletes. They expect me to be impartial. They pay me to be impartial. The only thing I ever root for is something to talk about because I got 3 hours every single day, but we've got a racehorse, and this racehorse, shared belief, is the #1 thoroughbred in the world right now, like the top-ranked thoroughbred horse in the entire world. That'd be like... you being the #1 MMAer in the world, to be like the top-ranked basketball player in the world, it's a big deal. But he got hurt in West Virginia. And the story that I was going to tell you, I didn't say that to you, Chael. I have no story to tell you about horse racing.
I always ask you about horse racing because my dad was a horseman. In fact, he was horseman of the year.
He was a vet.
Yeah, he was, including post-mortem. He won breeder of the year right here in Oregon. And I know, man, if the thoroughbreds, I know what them. Shared Belief is the horse's name.
Shared Belief is the name of the horse.
You know what's fun that you can make a whole show of is how you come up with racehorses' names. Okay. I remember as a kid, we used to sit around and it would be more fun, and we'd come up with the goofiest names ever, and it was a whole family event, and we'd vote on them.
You're blowing me away today. You're exactly right. We did not name that horse. We bought that horse after he won his first race, so he already had that name. We did not name him Shared Belief. But naming horses is tougher than naming kids. And I have a kid that didn't get his name until he was like a week old, so it's hard. It is really hard to name horses.
I think it's a lot of fun, too. I mean, I always get a kick out of it. You know, you talk about having a buddy that you then as a guest and they hate, if you say something negative about it. I go through that same thing, but it's like, guys, if I don't see it, I can't say it. You know, I can't come out if you go out and you lay an egg in a performance and talk about how great it was just because you and I text every now and then. It's got to be reality. I'm not going to lose credibility, and you're not going to win me over because, you remember my birthday each year and send me a happy birthday card.
If you don't need my advice because you were way ahead of the curve, if it's a hard thing for you to do as somebody who hosts a show, then you can't be friends with these guys no matter what. And by the way, you probably shouldn't be real close. It's different because you know them and you're in the business. I keep my distance so I can be impartial because if all of a sudden that's like, that's my guy. Yeah, well, your guy just got a DUI. Your guy just punched his fiancée in the head. You have to be so careful. There has to be some separation between the people you're talking about and who you hang out with. That's why I don't get real close because it's going to make my job much tougher to do when I have to shoot straight. Because the second you stop shooting straight, nobody wants to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hey, let me ask you a question. I'm going to totally switch gears. I don't know how we have before commercial. Let me ask you a question for my own edification on Tom Brady. Did he cheat or did he try to gain an advantage? And
he cheated. He cheated.
That's straight up cheating.
It was a rule, and he knew it was a rule, and he cheated. Now it wasn't. Look, it was not that big of a deal. A guy letting air out of a football or 12 is not that big of a deal. The cover-up was worse than the crime. The crime was almost nothing at all, man. It was like a parking ticket. But when they wanted him to come clean, he wouldn't do it. They already had a prior against them. Then it became personal. And that's the thing. Chael, I can't believe we are so far over where we need to be. I'm getting my ass chewed right now in my ear. But that happens when you and I are together. Chael, I want to thank you very much for repping the show. I want to congratulate you on being a two-time defending champion. I wish we had more time, but that's the best time we've ever had. Wait until the 26th.
You're going to congratulate me on the third championship. All right, I've had it. I've had it with you all.
All right. Chael, my man, great job. Brother, thank you very much. The gangster from the mean streets of West Lynn and the godfather of integrity. Can you give it up one more time for Chael Sonnen?